All right, what's going on, everyone? It's Billy Carson, aka Forbidden Knowledge, and Gven Sariol. What's going on, Gven?
What's up, my man? How you doing?
All right, man. All good. Trying to get off to a little bit of a start, a little bit of a glitch, but that's okay. We're here, man, and we want to welcome everybody to the Conscious Finance Podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, you guys know that Billy has a full-blown network, and you know that he wrote a book, Woke Don't Mean Broke,
Mm-hmm.
and he and I have been working now since October of 2022, and we've been talking for years now. Billy's like, man, we got to do a show. We got to bring more than just crypto. We got to bring the stuff that we're doing. And so I said, yeah, let's get together a show. So last year, Billy and I met up, and I said, Billy, let's do a show called Conscious Finance, where we talk to people about, all the hacks. There's so many hacks out there. There's so much information out there that it's too all over the place. And I said, there's not really a place for the conscious community to come and really learn this stuff. And I know you've been very successful. You've done some amazing things, from real estate, stock market, crypto, NFTs. I know I've kind of come down the same path, building your own businesses. And so, guys, gals, we put this together so that we're going to give you all the secrets, the free knowledge on how to do this stuff every week. So, Billy, what do you have to say?
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm glad that we're able to do this. Finally, we got it locked in and done. We talked about it a few times, and I remember, like you said, you came to my house and we sat down and talked, and we were like, yeah, let's bring this conscious finance to the people. Let's bring the knowledge from all aspects of business, inspiration, motivation, perseverance, because as you know, being in business takes a lot of perseverance. So absolutely. So I think what we probably can do initially, being the very first podcast, is let's give a brief summarization of each of our stories, so that the people who are seeing us for the first time can just get a generalized idea about who we are, where we came from. We're not going to make it into a documentary, but just to give a breakdown of who we are, where we came from, and why we're here, and what has given us this level of expertise in what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go first, and then you go second.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know me, my name's Gven Sariol. You guys have seen, for those of you who do, you've seen me with Billy. My background was actually in the law. Before, I managed law firms for about 18 years, did very, very well financially, and ended up getting into crypto back in 2017. But I ended up going through colon cancer, divorce. It was a really, really bad time in my life. My life was like a country story. My cat died. It was like everything's coming to an end, right? I think a lot of us have had those stories. You've had this story as well, Billy. And so I lost everything. I went from a millionaire to a 10,000-aire, actually, I should say a 300,000 debt-aire, because I just owed so much money. And back in 2020, I kind of went on an eat, pray, love. I'm like, look, I didn't survive cancer and get through this divorce for nothing. Something's kept me here, and that's when I decided to leave my job, even though it was paying me a decent amount of money. And I said, this isn't where my heart's at. My heart's at, I want to teach crypto. I want to teach finance. There's such a lack of knowledge out there about it. And I started with, when I say like $300,000 in debt and $15,000 in crypto, and I built that to millions. That was my story, and I had to tighten my belt. I had to go through a lot in order to get there. I had to really get serious about my finances. And that's where, I really became known, because people were like, whoa, if this guy can pull himself out of that deep of a hole, I'm not even close to that. I can do it, you know? And so here we are now. My business, I actually started teaching crypto a little bit before that, but I stopped after I got cancer because I focused on my healing. Didn't go through chemotherapy. I did have the surgery, but I went to Russia to work with a Russian shaman doctor. And because all the doctors were like, you need chemo, I was like, I'll do my own form of chemo. And I'll do the holistic chemo.
Yeah.
And it was really there where I had this mind shift where I'm like, I got to leave my job and I got to get into crypto. I'm over it. I'm exhausted from doing this over and over again. It's really negative. You're always fighting with somebody. And here I am today. You know, my business, I reopened it. It's been open now for 5 years and counting. And in my opinion, our education is second to none. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. Hey, man. And we've done quite a few webinars together, and we've helped quite a few people, several thousand people, join the ARC program so they can become students and learn about DeFi and learn about crypto the right way so they don't get ripped off on these markets and get scammed. Yeah, man, so your journey is amazing. Your journey is inspiring me, you know, just as you said, I inspire you, your journey inspires me because, you know, anytime somebody's coming back from a debilitating illness, such as cancer, and you got to the point where you didn't just give up, you know, I mean, it would have been so easy just to acquiesce to that frequency, the frequency of cancer, because cancer is not only a disease in the body, it can also become a disease of the mind. Because once you accept it fully, then you kind of acquiesce to it and allow it to devour your life and your spirit and your soul and everything else. And you didn't do that, man. You fought back. You know, you fought back. I see a lot of people in the live chat talking about what's going on with the Great Pyramid, what's going on with the pyramids, Khafre Pyramid, what's underneath the pyramids. So great questions, guys. I see y'all. Don't forget, just a couple of days ago, I did a huge podcast breaking down everything underneath the pyramids on Giza. And I have more knowledge about the pyramids coming up very, very soon. So yeah, the video is up here on this network. Actually, the video is going viral already. The one that I did is going viral. So you can learn about that right here on the Forbidden Knowledge Podcast Network. But to give you all a summary of me and where I came from, a little bit of a different story than Gven. You know, I think hopefully just as inspiring. You know, I came from abject poverty, where I was born in New York, moved to Florida at a very young age, came down here in 1977. And I was 6 going on 7 at the time. And it was a rough start. It was a rough introduction to Miami. It wasn't like, you know, the typical welcome to Miami, you know, bienvenido a Miami. It wasn't one of those. It was like, welcome to Miami. And you about to get handed to you. And it was rough. It was the first day. I remember kids were talking to me, and they started picking at me because they thought I was being too bougie because I didn't speak like with the Southern drawl. I didn't have the slang down. You know, I only had the New York proper talk, so they thought I was trying to be special. So that started a fight. That was my very first fight. The second day there, I was jumped by about 3 kids because they didn't like the way that I spoke. So that was my welcome to the hood, you know, beatdown. And being super impoverished and poor, you know, eating Cairo syrup and toast, eating matzo crackers and butter, waiting for the government cheese to show up, plugging our water hose into our neighbor's house to take baths in the backyard because we didn't have any running water at times. We didn't have electricity at times, or, you know, we didn't have a working septic tank. Those houses in that neighborhood predominantly had septic tanks. And so because the septic tank was full, a lot of the times we didn't have the money to get it drained. And so sewage would back up into the shower, sewage would back up into the sinks. It was totally disgusting. So we would have to wash dishes in the backyard with water hoses. And so we called it bucket in, bucket out. It was such a hassle to do the dishes. And luckily we had, you know, take turns with my siblings. There was 3 of us, but it was 1 week at a time. So for 1 week, you'd be tortured, you know, doing the dishes. It was a rough upbringing, man. Holes in my pants, holes in my shoes. I remember the last pair of shoes my mom bought me. They were a pair of football cleats. They were called McGregor. They had rubber football cleats on the bottom, the rubber nubs. They were $5 at Kmart. So she said, this is all I can afford. So I wore football cleats to school as my school shoes which was crazy. I walked into school, and you can only imagine the laughs, the sound. First of all, you can hear me coming a mile away, okay, with these cleats. It was wild. And I ended up going to school with those cleats, playing sports in those cleats, running track, basketball, everything. I did everything except play football. I wasn't a football player. I had football cleats. I played every sport, but I didn't play football. But it was rough, man, and just going through all of that. And finally, two things happened to me that changed my path. The first thing was when I was still a little bit younger than that, I came up with the idea of selling my toys door to door. So I didn't sell them. I asked for donations. And I went door to door asking the neighbors if they would give me a donation for my toys so I can have money for the ice cream truck. And I ended up with about $13 and change that day. And that's when I knew that I was going to save myself. That's when I knew that there was no magical savior coming down from the sky to grant me my wishes. That was going to be me that was going to have a conscious thought multiplied by my own actions, and I was going to create my own manifestation. And that's really the day that changed my life. Fast forward again, back up into the future at around 12, I had saved up some money from my newspaper route selling subscriptions. And I took that money and started investing it into digital car stereos when they first came out. Remember, this is the early 80s. And nobody had digital car radios yet. Everyone had analog dials. And so I was buying them from Galaxy Electronics out of New York, wholesale and COD, cash on delivery. And I was selling them to high schoolers. And then high school kids were referring me to college kids, and people were sending their parents and their cousins and their uncles and nephews. Everyone was coming to get these radios from me. I couldn't even keep them in stock in the beginning. And I reinvested until I was doing pretty good. I was making more than my parents by 13 years old. And I even eventually taught my parents how to get into a business. My mom fell down in Winn-Dixie grocery store. She got $5,000. I showed her how to turn that $5,000 into $100,000 her first year by starting a carpet cleaning company with a machine called the Von Schrader dry foam extracting machine that I saw in the same paper, in the same magazine where I saw Galaxy Electronics in. I said, if you get this, and she said, well, how am I going to make money with this? Becoming a carpet cleaner. I know nothing about becoming a carpet cleaner, number one. Number two, how am I going to advertise? I said, you deliver newspapers for a living. So just make a whole bunch of flyers, put your phone number on the flyers, put them inside the newspapers, and drop them off at the people's houses that you already been going to. And her phone lit up. The phone lit up like a Christmas tree. And she had clients and she had accounts. And before you know it, she had a bustling carpet cleaning company, Carson and Carson Carpet Cleaning. And that's how she got started. She took her 13-year-old son's advice and turned it into a big business. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's how they got started. Now, so I've been fortunate to go and have these insights into things. I don't always get it right. I've had businesses that failed as well. You only need a few of them to succeed. You only need a few. I mean, if you look at the guys that started Apple, Google, Microsoft, Tesla, Amazon, all of those companies at one point was on the precipice of complete bankruptcy. And all of those guys had tried multiple things before that point, or had tried multiple things during the process. Those things just happened to be the ones that panned out and made them extremely wealthy, right? So, it's all about having that vision and that insight, which fortunately for me, I've been able to have. I built another company called .com Marketing Group into a multi-million-dollar company in the late 90s when nobody had a website company yet. Nobody had websites yet. And I was simply cold calling out of the yellow pages and telling them, hey, this is what we got. We can make you a website. This is why it's great. It's going to generate you leads, generate sales, blah, blah, blah. I would set my own appointments to go out and demonstrate them. I would go on those appointments. I would close the deals. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'd actually build those sites and get them up myself. I had gone to the bookstore to learn HTML, ASP, JavaScript, PHP, and C++, all from the bookstore. And so I got a computer from Renter Center for $19.95 a week. It was a Packard Bell, but I called it a Packard from hell because it always crashed. 2 gigabyte hard drive. And I got Microsoft Front Page. Front Page 97 was the name of the software program for building the websites. Front Page 97, it gave you the ability to point and click and create things, but also to see the raw code so that you can modify the code to get more of what you want to see on the screen. So it was great for beginners like myself. And I built a whole multi-million dollar company doing that. And eventually that I got approached by a company called Glowbench, which acquired us. And then that company ended up getting acquired by, bought out by the Amber Alert company. So that's my startup.
Wow.
Initially, my initial startup funded the Amber Alert system that tells you kids are getting swiped and everything else all around the country.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's just the beginning. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more to go, but to give you a general fundamental, base understanding of like, well, where did I get my business prowess? How did I become an entrepreneur? Like, I went through the hard grind, man. Like you did. I went through the hard grind. I went through tough times. I remember at one point it was so rough during this process of trying to build. I didn't have any money for food. I ended up homeless on the beach for a week, and I had to start, use the payphone to make phone calls to get back on my feet again. And I went to Wendy's one day and I said, I don't have any money, but can I have some water? And something, maybe a bun or like a sandwich that you don't have that you're going to discard. And the girl was like, well, Wendy's, you can always come here and get a free bun and a free glass of water, always.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I would go to Wendy's twice a day and get bread and water, literally bread and water. I did that for a couple of months, man, until I got everything rolling. That was a tough period I was going through, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, And so for everyone who's watching on this live, man, it's, you see people who become successful and you think that like, well, the person's just lucky or, they just happen to be in the right place at the right time. But I'm just telling you, when you see a lot of people, not everyone, but most people that you see with success, you only see the success. You rarely ever see the true story behind what it took for them to become successful. It's a grind. And I see you grinding nonstop, Gven, day and night and day. And you see me going, man, I'm sleeping 3-4 hours a night and I'm going nonstop. And this is the grind that it takes to try to become successful and maintain success. And we still go through our ups and downs, but overall, we're trying to achieve more ups than downs. And I believe that, the knowledge that we both obtained over the years of struggle, strife, and the grind, we can definitely share some nuggets, with everyone who's watching right now that will hopefully, help get you out of a situation, help you shortcut some drama and some trauma and bring you to a place where you can actually maybe achieve something great, So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, Billy, I put up here, the success iceberg, I'm sure you've seen this before.
Oh, yeah.
and it's so true, right? Like, aside from the law firms that I started back in the day, I also had a computer networking company that failed. I had a cell phone business where I sold cell phones really early on. I was making good money at the time, like $5-6 grand back in the early 90s. Yeah. And then before that, I had a Christmas lighting business, right? Where I would just go and I would light Christmas homes with Christmas lights. And I did that for about 5 years. But, like you said, a lot of the stuff that you learn, it's like nature. There's no shortcuts to it, right? There's no shortcuts to I used to live in Costa Rica, for instance, right? And where I lived was right next to one of the major volcanoes there. The whole thing blew up back in the 1970s. Everything was just destroyed. And it took the time that it took to build. And now it's one of the most like abundant, flourishing ecosystems in the world, right? But it took time. It took hard work. It took a grind of the entire thing. It's crazy. You see from the ants to the bugs to the spiders to the monkeys to how everything works, right? Yeah. But that's, like I love using like nature and business as an analogy because they're so closely knit, and sometimes you have setbacks, right? Sometimes the volcano explodes and it's like, man, what do I do? Today I had a student on. We're thinking about naming him one of our elders in our group. He's 69 years old. At 50 years old, he ended up blowing. I told you this today. We had a phone call. He ended up getting in with a government contract that went bad. And he put $7 million. He said, I put in every last penny.
Ooh.
And he says, I lost it all, Gven. I lost it all. And I said, wow. And, you know, now he's retired. He's been retired now for 2 years. He built himself up back to a couple of million. And he's enjoying life. He's, you know, he's got his son, his daughter, taught them a lot. And they're both very educated people. And that's like his pride and joy now, and being part of our community, which is really cool. But I said, man, we need you teaching a lot of the youngsters and being there so that they can go and ask questions about, hey man, like I'm in this jam. How do I do it? Right. And if you would have asked him back then, he would have been like, oh my gosh, he probably couldn't see that future. Right.
Yeah.
But then he grinded through it. He went out, he got a job. He says, Gven, it was the worst. He goes, I went from making, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to $20 an hour. And I rebuilt myself. And like you said, a lot of people don't understand. They just think guys like you and I, we just showed up with a silver spoon in our mouth. I came from a middle class family. You came, you know, from way lower. You know, you had to really grind up. But my father came from communist Cuba, you know, and he was working at 12 years old, had a similar story to you. Ended up becoming an engineer, graduated from UCLA, went to law school while he had 3 kids and working, and he had his own business actually, became a lawyer. But again, even him, I used to see my dad, and I would hear about these kids who were trust fund babies at school. Oh man, his dad is loaded. And I said, I never want to be that way. And what I would do, Billy, it was funny. I was like, my mom would get me like the new Reebok pumps. You know what I would do? I would go outside to the curb and I would scuff them up because I'm like, I don't want the kids thinking that I have a silver spoon in my mouth. My mom would get so mad. Why are you doing that to your new pumps? You know, your new Reebok pumps.
Oh, man.
But I never wanted that handout, and I never took it. And I never took it. And my dad's taught me a lot, but it was more knowledge than it was money. And so, you know, this is what we're going to be covering in Conscious Finance, guys. We're going to be showing you the hacks. We may even bring on some people who have a really nice story to tell, because I know, I don't care who you are. Even if you're the richest person on this podcast listening right now, we all have our stuff. We all have our issues. Trust me. Some may be bigger financially. Some may be smaller. Some may be, you know, a divorce. You got a divorce going on, or health issues. I'm reading through some of the chat here. Some people have cancer. We all have our issues. But if we can give you guys a little hope, a little nugget to help you get access to that line of credit to open up your own business, if you believe in yourself enough, if we can help you save money on your taxes, if we can help you with a passive income generator that you're going to have to learn, right? It's not just going to be like, oh, send somebody money, and that it's not the way it works, guys. You have to become, in this day and age, your own financial advisor. I mean, would you agree with that, Billy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just like if you're sick or you have an illness, you need to learn as much about that sickness or illness that you possibly can. You should be on the same level or just about as a doctor. I mean, you know, it's your body. You live in that body. It's the same thing with finance. Like, you should know the most about your personal finance and financial literacy than anyone else dealing with your finance, more than your CPA, more than your accountant. And if you don't have any of those, okay, you should become a master of that and know all of that information from top to bottom. And if you don't know anything, if you don't know anything, you should research it. You should be able to gain that knowledge on it, because it's so vitally important to your well-being for you to do basic things like buy food to eat, sleep in a good bed, have electricity and running water, and of course, pay your cell phone bill so that you can actually be on this live feed tonight. So it's, you know, people kill me when they say, oh, you know, stop talking about money. Oh, we'll stop talking about money when we don't need it anymore. At this particular moment in time, in this particular financial matrix, on this particular planet, unfortunately, we do need access to funds. And it's not about chasing money. We're not teaching you how to chase money. We're not going to tell you how to build gobs and gobs of money in your bank account, become a multi-billionaire. We're here to teach you the tips and tricks so that may give you the ability to help manifest your true reality and manifest abundance, whatever that abundance actually means for you, because abundance means something different for everyone. So, but to do that, you got to have knowledge. And if you don't have a lot of knowledge, it's one of the biggest failures in society today, in American society specifically, is financial literacy, or financial, I should say, illiteracy, is what's really holding most Americans back.
Yeah, it's really sad. It's really sad. And the topic that we're talking about today is Social Security. And I think y'all are going to be blown away. Billy and I have been talking about Social Security for years now, and it's pretty scary how there's a lot of people who rely on it, and there's some things up and coming that's going to be a little scary. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of looking at this, and I don't like spreading fear. I like spreading solutions. But you got to be prepared. You got to be prepared for what's coming, because there is a lack in the funds. There's a lack in the funds, and we're going to break it down for you tonight. But you gotta know these things though, and you got to be thinking outside of the box these days. Like Billy said, you got to have, in my opinion, you should be working towards your own business. You should be working towards doing even a side gig if you need to make money. I've seen some people here like, man, I'm too smart to be, this broke. You are. You're right. Yeah. You're right. And so what does that mean? Something has to change. Something has to change. What's the equation of manifestation, Billy?
It's conscious thought multiplied by action equals manifestation. That's the formula. CT multiplied by A equals M. You can't get the M, or the manifestation, without the action, and of course, without the conscious thought.
Yep. So guys, gals, if there's something that you're looking to manifest, if you're in a jam right now, in my opinion, you got to be writing down that goal, and you got to be in thought about how you're going to take action to make that goal your reality. And that's what, the issue with a lot of people with the secret or whatever, they're just like, oh, I'm going to sit on my couch. It's going to fall on my lap. It could. I mean, I've had things like that happen to me before. I'm sure you have too, Billy. Like, oh shit. Yeah. I call those white swan events. Instead of black swan events, they're called white swan events. But you've got to put that thought into it. And anytime there's like that doubt that pops into your mind, that's like, I can't do it, or I'm not smart enough, or, I don't have the time. I can't work that hard. That's when you need to shift the mindset. That's when you need to shift the mindset. Yeah. Right. And so, Billy, let's talk a little bit about Social Security, but let's run the spot first, and then we'll come back to these amazing people in regards to how they can get out of this Social Security crunch and what they need to be looking out for.
Absolutely. What can I do for you? I wanted to see if I can get a $20,000 loan. Okay, great. No problem. Do you need my credit report? Nope. Any forms to fill out? Not necessary. Well, how long will it take? A few weeks? No. A few seconds.
Being your own bank means you're in total control of your money. Give yourself loans. No credit reports, no forms, and no waiting weeks for approvals. Let Arc Crypto teach you everything you need to learn how to use the tools of decentralized finance to become your own bank. Learn more about our courses. Get a 10% discount if you sign up now.
All right.
Guys, today's sponsor is my company, Arc Crypto. So if you guys are interested in learning about how you can get into decentralized finance and becoming your own bank, we're going to leave a link in the chat box there. And Billy, when we did that commercial at Billy's house, We were laughing. We were just like, wow, that's kind of cool. And but it was the truth. Like literally, guys, we are able to do that. Billy's done it. I've done it. There's students even in here in this chat that have taken loans in the matter of seconds, doing peer-to-peer loans on the blockchain. Like the blockchain isn't just like some fake internet money. It's a whole ecosystem of banking. And this is something that we're really teaching. So head over to that link, book a call, and let's get you learning DeFi. Now, let me pull up some slides here that I prepared tonight for our show. Let's see here. Oh man, it looks like 1 second, Billy. For some reason, my
is it coming up? You got it? Okay.
No, let's see. I don't know what's going on here.
Are you gonna drop it into the
here we go. No, I got it. Just share my screen here. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about the Social Security trap, and we're exposing it. Billy, last week I actually sat down. He's a neighbor of mine. This guy, he actually works for multiple different Social Securities throughout the world. All right. And he's the one that actually helps them allocate their investments. And I was like, whoa, they have investments? And I'll tell you after why I'm saying that right now.
Crazy.
And I said, listen, man, I've done some pretty deep research on Social Security. And I said, like, isn't it a Ponzi scheme? And he jumped back because he's interested in investing in our crypto stuff, right? And he goes into our managed vaults, and he goes, yeah, he goes, not too many people say that, but I'm constantly saying it. Like, this is a Ponzi. This looks like a Ponzi scheme. And I said, okay, good. All right. So we agree on one thing here. And I said, well, what is it that, like, when is this thing going to expire? And I put some slides in here that's going to show everybody, like, it's not like a matter of if, but when. And it's pretty scary. And this is one of the things, like, Billy, I know you're not one of the people that's like, oh, well, I can't wait till I'm, 67 or 65, because then I'm going to get that extra boost, right?
Yeah. No.
I'm not even counting with it, to be quite honest with you.
No.
I'm not even counting on it. So
they can keep it.
Yep. So here's a breakdown. All right. So first of all, Social Security represents 50% of the income for 2/3 of people that are on Social Security. All right. So that's a substantial amount of money that people rely on. Okay. And if you had to cut that money, or if you had to push the Social Security down the line, then what would end up happening is you'd have people that are just going to be exhausted from, already pretty long work for, like, their age, right? Like, we're not built to be working that long, but this is going to be forcing people to have to take second jobs, which in a time where AI is coming out and taking already over jobs, we've saved a lot of money with AI just in our labor force. I mean, a lot of the people that we're using, they're in the ones that were able to adapt, man, they're like superhumans now, right? But the people who don't, it's going to be a rough road, right? And I don't know if you knew the statistic, Billy, but it's a scary one. It's a scary one. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's right on point from what I've been researching. And it is a Ponzi scheme. And the way that it looks now, according to all financial analysts that talk about this topic, they're saying that by 2033, there will be no more money left in the system. And why would the money be gone? Well, because they're siphoning it, using it for other things. And it's a Ponzi scheme. It's a pyramid scheme. So they're using other people's money to pay other people. And the problem is, as you take money out of that system for other things that have nothing to do with helping people live, you break the cycle, and then eventually the money runs out. This is one of those Bernie Madoff type systems. They arrested and put Bernie Madoff in prison, but the people that put this system together, they need to go to prison. And
that's, it was funny that this guy that I met with, who's been doing Social Security his entire life, said, Gven, I don't know how it's possible that nobody sees this. I don't know how it's possible that nobody sees this. And so, let's keep going here, because a lot of people don't even realize how Social Security works. So the main problem is Social Security is not enough for people to live on, and it's built like a Ponzi scheme. All right. And so some of you are asking in the chat, like, or denying this. Okay. But let's really dive deep into how Social Security works, or how a Ponzi scheme works. Let's start there. So Ponzi scheme, it's a fraudulent scheme that involves paying existing investors in a non-existent enterprise with the funds collected from new investors. Now, Billy, let me ask you a question. When your first impression of Social Security, like mine was, okay, I'm putting money into Social Security. It's like my little account there, right? And in that account, it's building interest. And then when I'm retired, the government's taking care of it for me, and I'm going to be good, right? Yeah. So was that your impression as well? Or did you already know Social Security was kind of like, no?
That was my exact impression. I interpreted it from as a younger man, that this was a fund that was being built up under my name. So it's important that I keep going to work and paying everything, and have them take those Social Security taxes out, so that one day in the far future, I can collect this check with my name on it, not knowing that that's not what was happening. That all of my payments that I've been paying go to other people and not saved for me.
and that's like, when I found that out, and then when I understood what like a Ponzi scheme was, I was like, wait a second. Yeah. This is a Ponzi scheme. Like literally. And I'm going to show you guys here in a little bit. I'm going to break it down so you can see, like, Social Security is not what you think. Yeah. All right. It's not what you think. But, we're seeing things like this pop up where, in France, you're going to work until you're 71. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'll probably be working. I know you will, Billy. Like, we love what we do. Right. Right. But a lot of people don't.
No, well, I mean, a UPS delivery man can't work till the age of 71. I mean, you're not going to lug off 40-pound boxes off the side of a truck at 71 years old. Not in most cases.
No, not practical. Right. Not practical. And so, like, a lot of people that may look at this, and like you and I may be like, okay, well, I was going to work until the day I died anyways, doing what I love. But a lot of people are like, man, my body's broken. There's a lot of people. I used to do workers' comp. My heart bleeds for these people because, their bodies were broken, man. Broken backs, broken legs, broken feet, brain injuries. These people, and the workers' comp system just treated them like trash, like garbage, right? And so to go 70 to 71, even in the United States, they're saying even later, 72, I think, is what they're talking about. Now, here's another thing from Newsweek. Seniors expect to run out of money as Social Security drops forecast. And I'm going to show you what some of that forecasting looks like. So I got into a fight with ChatGPT earlier, right?
Yeah.
So I showed you all this, what the definition of a Ponzi scheme is. So I kept saying, okay, well, once I found out that in Social Security, you've got essentially the old investors into Social Security are receiving money from the new investors. Okay, the new investors is the new workforce that's not retiring, that's still paying into the system. Now, we've got a declining population. All right, we've got a declining population, and then we have these baby boomers that many of you may be a baby boomer, okay, right now, that are just coming into their retirement or have been in retirement, I think like 5-6 years now, okay, coming into their retirement ages. And so there's this massive amount of people that were born during this time period, you know, the 1940s all the way to the, I don't know, I think it's like the 70s, maybe 70s or something like that. And that dictated the baby boomer generation, right? Yep. And so what ended up happening was after that, we didn't have so many babies. After World War II, we didn't have so many. The birth rate did not keep climbing. No. So now we've got more of those investors going from contributing into the system into receiving the money from the system. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm going to add to that, in 1940, there was 42 workers per retiree. And right now, today, there's only 2.8 workers per retiree. And that's going to keep dropping even further. So there's not enough people feeding the money back into the system, into the Ponzi scheme. Right.
So I got into a fight with ChatGPT as I'm like finding all of this stuff. And this is what it said. Social Security operates like a pay-as-you-go system where current workers fund the benefits of retirees, similar in structure to a Ponzi scheme, though without fraudulent intent. and I'm sitting here like, wait a second. And then I went deeper down the rabbit hole. And I'm going to show you guys here where I do believe the fraudulent intent was. Okay, because a lot of people don't understand. So it says here, and I'll read this in full disclosure. However, demographic shifts such as fewer workers supporting more retirees raise concerns about the system's long-term sustainability. Okay, so here's some of Social Security's pitfalls, right? In November and December of 1982, the Old and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund. It's an insurance trust fund. And by the way, remember, guys, I came from the law. You had to keep very strict accounting in your trust account. If you were off by even a cent, they could fine you, they could put you in jail, they could take away your law license. Okay? There is not a snowball's chance in hell that you could call up the state bar and say, hey, is there any way that we might be able to borrow some money against our client's trust fund? I mean, they'd show up with handcuffs if you even ask the question. Okay? But our government can do whatever the heck they want. Yeah. And here's what they did. They borrowed a total of $35 million from Social Security funds. Now, this borrow... $35 billion. Billion with a B. Yeah. Sorry, billion. You're right. So this borrowing effectively used trust fund assets to finance other spending rather than leaving them invested in Treasury securities. Yeah. So remember how I said, Billy, at the beginning of this, like I thought they put my money into, I had an account there. They were going to grow it by, whatever, 2, 3, 4% per year, whatever the Fed rate was. No way. You're never going to see. And by the way, if you were to put your money and compound it by 2%, I got to do a slide for this. It ends up being like exponentially more than you would have ever received from the Social Security Trust Fund. Exponentially more, just at 2%.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
yeah, it's wild. It's wild. So none of these borrowings have been paid back in cash. They remain on the books as special issue U.S. Treasury securities, i.e. IOUs, that the trust fund holds until redeemed to pay benefits.
Yeah.
That now, again, in any other business, that would be illegal.
Yeah.
You cannot take people's investment money and borrow against it, against their will, without them knowing.
They don't even approve. We don't even have. They don't say, "Hey, Mr. Carson, Mr. Sariol, we'd like to. Would you be interested in having your future Social Security monies moved into an investment sweep account?" No, there's no asking of any questions. There's no approval process. They just do with literally your money what they want.
Just pay and shut up.
Yes.
And maybe you'll get your money. Or like I'm going to show you here, by the year 2033, a portion of it. So as of the end of 2023, the latest Social Security trustee report, the combined the trust fund reserves stood at about $2.86 trillion. All right. And according to this, what was that, Billy?
No, I said, yeah.
Yeah. So according to the same report, it's projected that all funds will be used and exhausted in 2034.
There you go. I just earlier said I was just guessing about 2033. I was close.
Yep. Yeah. And so check this out. So if they were to inflate the supply to pay this back in that same year, when already inflation has gone up because of COVID and all of these other factors, we now have, tariffs coming, which, who knows? Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. I don't know. Okay. But inflation would be anywhere from 3% to 8% above baseline. So at the height of COVID, guys and gals, to give you an example, the baseline was 8%. That was the baseline. So imagine if inflation is 2-3%, that means it could be up. And I personally think, because of the way the government does things, they always underestimate things. And especially when it comes to inflation, that you're probably looking at maybe even more than 8%. And that's above the 2 or 3 or 4% where inflation is going to be at that given point in time. And that's going to be unprecedented. Everybody felt that. Everybody's rent is now exponentially higher. And nobody's gone and said, oh, you know what? We're going to lower rent. We're going to lower the cost of your eggs or your chicken or your steak or your lettuce. You haven't seen your grocery bill fall back to where it was in 2019. Have you, Billy?
No, it won't fall back. It will only go up. And the reason being is because a mind once stretched can never go back. And that applies to everything in life when it deals with a human being. And since human beings run corporations, once you stretch their mind by paying them significantly more amounts of money for rent, for products and services, for food, for hotel stays, for gasoline, or whatever else you're buying, they realize, oh, they'll pay this amount.
Yeah.
And once they got you at that amount, you're pretty much at that amount. It might fluctuate a few pennies here and there, but you're pretty much stuck. We're pretty much locked in at the post-COVID prices, which in my opinion is absolute premeditated price gouging.
Yep.
And why the government allowed it is because at the higher price points, the taxes now are multiplied. So in Florida, in my city, we pay 6% sales tax. But now imagine paying 6% sales tax on 20% more of a fee for the same goods. And now multiply that by millions of people just in this city. Now then multiply that by billions across the entire world. All of a sudden you can see, like, once they get a price up, these governments, they want to keep it going. So they encourage these high prices wherever you are. Pretty much almost on any of the big countries in the world, they encourage it because they themselves are going to eat even more.
Yeah, 100%. You know, like a perfect example. So remember, I used to be in workers' comp. So in 2004, they reformed the entire workers' comp system because it was being abused. There's no doubt that it was being abused. All right. It was being abused from the other end. But here's the thing. They said, proving your point, what you just said, insurance companies came in and they got Arnold Schwarzenegger in and they gutted this industry. All right. I'm talking if they were paying 20% of what they were paying in like 2004 and 2005, I would be surprised. That's how much of a savings. Like workers' comp became, as an insurance company, became one of the most lucrative businesses in California. Do you think that they passed those premiums down to employers?
No way. No.
They didn't even touch it. They were like, oh, guess what? Your workers' comp didn't go up. And they got all the savings, right? That's the way inflation works, guys. That's the way inflation works. Yeah, man, they'll hike up those things. And maybe it was like premeditated. Maybe they just let it get out of control for that main reason, right?
Oh yeah. Facts.
Yeah. Right? So, you know, like, guys, gals, there's no silver bullet here. All right. There's no silver bullet, but there's going to have to be some level of pain. There's going to be some level of pain that the government is going to have to bring to the public if they want to make it work, if they want to keep Social Security, right? And so some of the things that they're proposing, tax hikes, which would suck because you're already paying the silent tax, which is inflation. Taxes are already high enough as it is. You know, maybe some of you don't even pay taxes because it's 11,000. You make less than 11,000, but you're still paying inflation. You're still paying gas tax. You're still paying sales tax. Hopefully you don't drink, but you're still paying alcohol tax. Like tax on top of tax on it, guys. You don't even know how much tax you really pay because it's hidden. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, I went to Walgreens or Target and I spent $100. 8% of that probably went back to the county or state or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So even if you don't pay tax, you pay tax. Right. So raising your taxes even more, I don't know. I don't think that's a good fix. Combine fixes still fall short. So even a mix of measures, so let's say delay depletion by a few decades rather than providing a long-term solution. So we just kind of kick the can down the road. And, significant economic and social impacts would be that necessary changes could impose heavy burdens on workers and seniors, like some of the most vulnerable people, because they're not working anymore. They don't have that capability. Maybe some of you do as seniors because your heart's in it, but do you really want to keep doing that accounting job? Does it make you wake up in the morning?
Yeah.
I don't think that's really the case. Now, hopefully, you have this whole Doge system coming up here where they're cutting a lot of the bureaucracy, but I don't know, you call them polytricksters for a reason, Billy.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, okay, yeah, you're going to appease this side of the base, but then the pendulum swings back over here and nobody's ever going to be really happy. So like, how do you, and these are the things that we're going to be talking about in conscious finance, guys and gals. How do you really get past this?
Yeah.
How do you rise above this? I mean, Billy, let's give a few examples and then these are the sorts of things that we're going to be talking about.
Well, one of the ways to rise above this is to foresee the collapse of this system and plan and take action now. It goes back to the manifestation formula, conscious thought. We're now showing you what's going on with Social Security. We're showing you that it's a Ponzi scheme, an illegal Ponzi scheme that's been justified by the government. We're showing you that at some point, the money is going to run out. It's going to collapse. A lot of people have had their hands in there for a while, siphoning money out of this system, which was discovered by Doge, right, with Elon Musk. People who were dead for hundreds of years were still getting checks. That's going to people's pockets. So that's robbing the system. And because we have a declining population and a declining number of people putting money back into the system, it's a deck of cards waiting to fall apart at any moment. And like we said earlier, between 2033 and 2034, it's gone. So now knowing that, now that you have this awareness to this absolute fact that this is going to happen, don't put your eggs in that basket anymore. Now you have to say to yourself, oh, wow, this system, this rigged system might not be there for me. So let me not rely on it and let me figure out a plan B and a plan C. And that would then go into learning how to generate or create your own passive income. And then you could take that passive income and you can save it. There's many different ways that you can save it. We'll talk about many different ways during these financial podcasts, these conscious finance podcasts. But taking that passive income, generating it, saving it, and letting it compound so that by the time you get to those ages where you want to retire, you create your own retirement fund and you're not relying on this mysterious Ponzi scheme money to be there for you.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, just to like add to that, Billy, you know, again, I teach crypto. So like and I invest in crypto and manage a pool of money of crypto. Okay. So I'm a little biased, but I will say this, right? There are other avenues of things that you can invest in: real estate, commodities such as, you know, gold, silver, palladium. I have a lot of friends who invest in multiple different things, right? That are not the Ponzi dollar, which we'll talk about the Ponzi dollar, how the dollar is actually also a Ponzi scheme. So it's like two Ponzi schemes. It's like two pyramid schemes in one business, just two different products, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so it's wild. But also stocks, you know, even if you're conservative and you're dollar cost averaging into your stocks, that's also an alternative that you can be investing in little by little. And the particular student, our elder today, I asked him, what did you do? What did you do? He says, well, you know, I didn't buy any new cars. I lived debt free. I ended up saving a lot of my money, and all of it ended up going to paying my house down. I paid a little extra. He ended up paying his home off in, I believe, 10 years early. So 20 years instead of 30 years. So he's lived rent free all this time. And he says, after that, I just started putting all my money into my 401k that I was putting towards that. And next thing I knew, I had a couple $1,000,000. And even at, you know, a 12% return, putting $5,000 in every single month or $3,000, whatever it is, can compound very, very quickly and very, very nicely for people. Mm-hmm. And so these are things that, again, Billy and I are going to talk about. We're not just going to bring you crypto. Billy and I have talked about exclusively crypto here. We're going to talk about different things: how to get access to lines of credit for your business, mm-hmm. how to save money on your taxes. Yeah. The things that Billy and I use, some of the other investments that you might be able to invest in: real estate, stock market, that sort of thing. Some life insurance, right? If that's what you want to do. Commodities. These are all things that we're going to give you guys ideas so that you can be thinking, okay, what is it? How can I really get out of this matrix? I'm out of it. I don't count with Social Security. Neither does Billy. No. But these are the things that we're going to be talking to you about. And if you guys are interested in crypto specifically, this is what I teach. And this is what Billy is a part of Billy's strategy. It's not Billy's entire strategy, but a part of it. We're going to leave a link down below. Check it out. It's on, it's right here. You can click to book a call, and let's see if we're aligned. Let's see if your goals are aligned with what we're doing. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Billy, do you want to close with anything before we leave?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, look, everyone, this is going to be a great podcast. This is our introductory podcast to the conscious finance. And like today, I saw a lot of people lighting up in the live chat because they learned a lot from what we're talking about with Social Security. Because I think a lot of them had the same ideas that we both had, Gven, is that when you work, this money is going into a special account just for me. And I know there's this big scam that's been going on for so many years, the straw man scam, that supposedly there is an account with your name and it's linked to your Social Security number. It's got all this money in it, but that's a big scam. And everyone who's really tried that and tried to use that money that doesn't exist has ended up, a lot of them got in a lot of trouble. Some people even went to prison over that. There is no account with your name on it in the government's, bank vault. There's nothing there except scams. It's all that is there is them taking your money, them investing and pooling your money to other things that we have no information about, have not been privy to, and then them trying to siphon some of that money back to the people at the top that are retired way ahead of you, and it's destined to fall apart. So to look into things, alternative things that we're going to be talking about on this podcast, one of them being, of course, is becoming a student of the ARC and learning about crypto and DeFi, which we've been dropping a link in the live chat many times throughout this podcast, as well as in the caption of this video or audio, wherever you hear it. So we'd love for you guys to join us for a free consultation off this video, and we'll teach you there. But we'll be back every week with a Conscious Finance podcast. And like today, we're going to drop some knowledge of things that you might have not known actually exist. But we're also going to be providing more and more solutions as we go on with this podcast. And we're really looking forward to bringing you guys this knowledge from all of our combined shared years of business expertise and our passes and our fails. We've won and we've lost, and we're going to bring all of it to you and be raw with it so that you guys can hopefully bypass some of the loopholes and some of the mistakes that we even made. Right, Gven?
100%. 100%. It's going to be fun, dude. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. And by the way, get ready to maybe even start asking some questions, because I want to get – I even want to get people on the phone, man. We got to get people on the phone asking questions, right? Like, let's listen to your we want to listen to your situation. So we'll probably be putting out a form here and reading some of these issues, and we'll give you our perspective on it. Neither Billy or I are financial advisors. We're our own financial advisors, but you need to be your own financial advisor. But we'll just tell you what we would do if we were in that situation. And then you do you. Right. Yeah. So anyways, all right, brother. Well, it was good. Good linking up with you.
Yeah. Good linking up with you. Thank you for everyone in the live chat. I think we had at the highest, we had 17 or 1800 people on the live tonight, and it's going to grow. I couldn't send a text out tonight. There's some technical difficulties with the text. So if you saw this after and you said, hey, I didn't get my text, it's just because there's a glitch in the text messaging system right now, but I'm pretty sure it'll be fixed. And I'll make sure we get this text out and so everyone can get a chance to come back and watch it, whoever missed it. But we appreciate you guys. We love y'all. Thanks for watching Conscious Finance with Billy, Carson, and Gven Sariol. And we'll be back again very soon. All right. Let's, I got to get the outro. I want to have a really nice outro for this, but I don't think we have one yet, but we're going to leave you guys with something. All right.
One last thing, Billy, if I could do that, guys, head over to my YouTube too. That's where I have a lot of my DeFi stuff, stuff over there.
Yeah. Go to Gven Sariol on YouTube, GVEN SARIOL. Gven, you got to spell that name for these people. It's a tough name, man.
I know, man. I know.
Gven Sariol. All right. All right, guys. We love you guys, and we'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Peace out.
All right.
Forbidden Television.
This is logged in on November 25th, 2023, Eastern Standard Time. Sensitive material has been breached and it is now in front of the public. This is very sensitive documentation and the world will be in total chaos if leaked, and it is now leaked. All of it. Not one document, all of it. Place of exploitation, forbidden knowledge television. This must be stopped.